What's up, YouTube? I've taken some time out of my day to do the latest chapter of Toriko review slash discussion. Now, as you guys know, it's very time consuming to do these and we don't have a lot of time, so be very happy that I'm doing this right now. So the latest chapter of Toriko is out, and let's just get straight to it. There's so many points to discuss, and I'm afraid I might forget a lot of important ones, so let's get started real quick. First and foremost, in the latest chapter, we see that Akatsuya is aging for sure. This was maybe foreshadowed in the last chapter, but this chapter was the one where it was very blatantly obvious. Well, not really obvious to the casual manga reader, but anyone who's really studying every page like me, you will see that Akatsuya has shown tremendous amount of wrinkles and a tremendous almost sort of aging ever since he returned from his journey. And so I left off last chapter thinking that these blue nitro were coming to attack Akatsuya, because that's all we've seen of these creatures so far. We know that they're exceptionally intelligent in terms of food gathering, and on top of that, other than that, they've literally just been attacking people. They've been attacking people in the last arc with the Gourmet Coliseum, and before that, they attacked Toriko and his crew in the Gourmet Pyramid arc. So they seem to be just monsters trying to kill people. Sorry, I had to move around. And now we see a complete change up. It's not like that. In this chapter, these blue nitro, which we're assuming are some sort of super high breed of nitro, because the ones we've seen before have been black, I believe. So this super breed of nitro have sort of come up, and apparently they didn't come to attack Akatsuya. They actually came to take him away. So I think what we see here is the fact that these nitro may in fact be as intelligent, if not more intelligent, than humans. The question is what happened since then. And I'm not going to get too much into this. This obviously brings up dozens of questions if you really thought about it, but I'm not going to get into all of that, otherwise this is going to be an hour-long video. But it really makes you wonder, like, how strong are these nitro? How come they were enslaved by Midora? Is it simply because Midora is really strong now, or the nitro have weakened? And that references again hundreds of chapters ago when the nitro from the pyramid came up, and that nitro was kind of like he hadn't eaten for thousands of years, and now he'd come up. The question was, why was he hibernating for thousands of years, and why was he so ravenously hungry? And a lot of our questions, because before that, even before the Gourmet Pyramid arc, we had seen a nitro who was still alive and kicking, and he ate that, like, I can't remember what it was called, air herb or air plant, that Komatsu and Toriko went to get. So there's even more questions on top of that, which I don't even think I should mention, because I gotta get to the next point, which is Komatsu. We haven't seen him for a while. What's going on with that? I do think, you know, if we got down to it, yes, I do. I'll give it up that Komatsu deserves in certain ways to not be shown. I mean, we have important stuff to deal with, but at the same time, I personally kind of miss Komatsu in the series. He hasn't been around for at least like 10-20 chapters, and it's kind of different without him, because now, I mean, Komatsu, he added a little sort of flavor to the whole series by being the sort of figure out of all these figures who had the power level of a weak human compared to all these monsters. So I guess you could relate it to Krillin and DBZ, but not even, because even Krillin had a quite, sure, he was never on the level of the other Z warriors later on, but he still had tremendous power compared to a human. But so Komatsu is a very special character in that he is a central figure, which at the same time is very strange because he has no power outside of his cooking, which is obviously very talented. And yeah, I can talk a lot more about these blue Nitro and Komatsu, but there's so much other stuff to get to. Now I'm going to jump to the next important point, which is well, there's two, and which one should I mention first? Well, I'm just going to mention it, and then I'm going to mention both, and then I'm going to choose one to elaborate on. So the first one would be Midora, and we see again, I mentioned this before, Midora is actually a nice dude. Midora is like, we've seen this before in the other series. I'm not going to spoil any or reference any in particular, but we've seen this before. The bad guy isn't actually that bad. He has good intentions. He has wholesome moral intentions, and a lot of times, like in this, he started off with a sort of naive slash idealistic view of the world, and it sort of just came to a halt when he saw a sort of loss of innocence in others, or an exploitation of others. And we saw this in Froze-sama, because Midora idolized Froze-sama for many reasons, and if you forgot those reasons, you just have to read up on the last two chapters. But it was very clear, and that changed very quickly when he saw how the world had sort of taken advantage of Froze-sama, and he didn't understand it. And that brought up the huge fight at the end, which we know what happens because of the flashback 3 or 4 chapters ago, with the picture of Ichirayu at the time beating out Midora, and I would call them middle age, because at the beginning of the flashback they were youngsters. Now they're middle aged, and it's clearly been a while. Like, Midora has longer hair, not as long as he has now, but longer hair. And Ichirayu's developed his skills, and we see at the end, the last panel, we see the fight begin, and we know what happens. Ichirayu wins, but chooses not to kill Midora. And I don't really know how to take this. I don't really want to bring a lot of philosophy into this, because if I do, and I bring in a lot of morals and what's right or wrong, the end result is going to be like, there really is no right or wrong. It's just simply a lot of naive people trying to reach goals that are idealistic and morally right in their eyes, and failing to do so by being well, I don't want to say the word foolish, because at the same time, like, how can you be foolish when you are using everything to the best of your knowledge? You simply just don't know enough about the world, and you didn't prepare yourselves. And so that's what happened. Midora he didn't prepare himself. He went out to get cure water, which, if you guys don't know, and you should know because it was in the last chapter, just like a couple drops of this on anyone with gourmet cells healed them, even if the wound is like really, really strong. And he went to get this water, and it ended up being guarded by and here's the thing, it wasn't actually one of the 8 kings of the gourmet world. It was a offspring of one of the kings, so like a baby form. And Midora got wrecked by this thing, but still got some cure water. But yeah, Froze-sama pretty much died trying to heal Midora when she was already injured. And so what I'm thinking here is that the cure water Midora got was not enough, and on top of the fact that Midora was so gravely injured, it was simply just even worse. And then Midora made obviously he made a huge error, and which cost him Froze-sama's life. And yeah, then he gets all angsty and angry and goes about it all the wrong way. And one thing I really didn't like was he never really blamed himself for it that much. He just got angsty and angry, and then he's like, I'm going to set out and eat all this food to carry on Froze-sama's will. Not really acknowledging the fact that he sort of brought Froze-sama to her death. had, and here's the stupidest part. Akatsuya mentioned, like, right before that Froze-sama would have been completely fine if she just rested for a couple days. Now, I guess maybe, again, this is probably the manga creator being kind of weird and trying to bring about a dramatic result without really having to. But I think it's kind of like a blat. Either the creator has to make a better plot, or this was just a really stupid thing. But I didn't understand that. Midora could have just waited a couple days and Froze-sama would have been better. The only logical explanation is either the manga creator just wasn't really thinking and there's that plot hole, or the fact that Midora was just really stupid and got caught up in the heat of the moment and decided to go out and get the cure water because he was so passionate about Froze-sama getting exhausted helping others that weren't really thanking her or grateful for her food, and so he got caught up in the moment and was impatient. So that's what I have to say about that. It's very interesting stuff. And yeah, by the way, I think I'm getting a little fat. It may be the campus food. Anyhow, the next biggest thing would be the zombie Froze-sama. Now, this is all pretty much foreshadowed, and the whole chapter is sort of foreshadowing this. So if you read the chapter and you sort of have predicted what I'm about to say, I mean, it's pretty obvious, so it's not a big deal, but I'm just going to say it anyways. So we know that Froze-sama has come back. She's completely different. Her face is like really messed up, and she looks like a zombie or some sort of monster or someone who is controlled. And at the same time, in this chapter, it's now revealed that back in the day what happened was Midora went to her grave every day and poured cure water into it along with his tears. Now, what seems to be foreshadowed here, and this again may be a common sort of, I don't even know how to coin the term, but a sort of expected foreshadow. Like the manga this has been done before. The manga creator will sort of force the plot in one direction, so all the readers will read it and say, oh, this is what's going to happen for sure, and then all of a sudden just flip the switch on you and then say, haha, just kidding, I surprised you, that's not actually how it is. And I feel like that's how it is for this chapter. All the manga readers are going to be like, oh, it's very clear and obvious that the cure water and Midora's tears somehow turned Froze-sama into a mindless drone-like zombie who wants to carry on Midora's twisted will rather than Midora's true will. I mean, Froze-sama's true will. And that would be like the common thing, but maybe next chapter, and this could definitely be the case because, like, I mean, the last page was just like, you see like a clump come out of Froze-sama's grave. So it's like that whole zombie thing. The next chapter might be a complete switcheroo, and then the creator will be like, gotcha, actually that's not actually going to happen. But we don't know yet. What I have to say about it though is that I think that could be the case, and that's what I thought. But there is a couple things that I wouldn't see that align with that. The first is the fact that Froze-sama, or at least zombie Froze-sama, is on the side of Neo, and Neo is an independent party who, again, at the moment we don't know their intentions, but based on their members, it seems like their intentions are simply profit and money. So I'm assuming potentially Froze-sama is in fact controlled by some maybe robot or something that costs a heck of a lot of money to build up, because we know all the like top head people of Neo, the independent party, are like trillionaires. So we know that, And I feel like, yeah, it doesn't really make sense for Froze-sama to be on Neo, because Froze doesn't care about money, as we know. So there's a lot of speculation going on in this video, and I could talk an hour on it, but I don't want to. So we'll leave it at that for now. I mean, there's so many questions to be asked. They will be revealed eventually, and there's a lot of different options for the creator of the series to go on. Like, he has so many choices to make, and all of them could be very decent possibilities. And I do feel, at least for me, I'm pretty confident in the fact that Midora has yet to figure out that zombie Froze-sama has arisen from the grave. I don't think Midora knows about this at all, and that's just how it is. And so it's very interesting stuff, and we definitely see a huge, like, different perspective based on this entire flashback. I mean, the biggest thing for me was seeing Setsuno, though she never talked throughout the entire flashback. Just seeing her, you know, in all the different spots in the background, just standing next to Jiro, standing next to Setsuno's grave, just standing there as a, you know, young little girl who is Jiro's combo partner. And it really sets a different tone, because for the first, you know, hundreds of chapters, we've seen Setsuno depicted as this Weisenheimer old lady who's ridiculously strong, but at the same time, her fashion sense and her mannerisms are just really old ladylike and unattractive, but at the same time, she puts on this sort of motherly sort of vibe. And so it's very interesting, because we see, like, Setsuno, and she's a beast. Like, we saw her in the Gourmet Coliseum arc, and she was motherly, you know. Remember that time when she was racing, and then she just sort of saw, like, Komatsu in the back, who couldn't even freaking swim, which was so hilarious, and she just runs straight all the way back, and then she's like, Komatsu, are you okay? Are you drowning? And then Komatsu's like, no, I'm fine. And then she just standing on the water, and apparently moving her feet so fast that she stays on top, and it's just ridiculous. So it's very interesting to see in a different perspective of her. Like, this girl was in fact young. She wasn't always this old Weisenheimer old lady, and that's true with a lot of people in real life too, and it's really hard to wrap your head around. And I'm sure it'll be hard for you guys too. I mean, a lot of you guys are young now. Maybe when you guys get old, there's going to be people who can't imagine you ever being young. And that's just how life works. So it's a very interesting perspective, and we definitely see how Setsuno was. And it definitely seems like she was sort of like the lower, I wouldn't say lower tier type of person, but she was definitely on the lower slash back end of power levels back in the time, which is crazy now, because Setsuno's like literally like number 2 in the world almost. Well, not really, but in terms of, like, excluding IGO, she's like excluding IGO and excluding some of the top people with Midora and everyone in the Gourmet world now. Like, I mean, it was very clear in the freaking Gourmet Coliseum arc that she was like at the top tier, being able to take on many high class people at the same time. And so yeah, she literally was holding on to everyone, and I believe, like, she only had trouble with Froze-sama, which obviously now after a flashback she should have trouble with, and that was about it. Froze-sama, and then we see Midora coming in with the Meteor Spice. Obviously she'll have trouble with Midora, and then Jiro, but Jiro's on her side. So it seems like the only people that really are a match for her are the people she knew from the very start. So that's all I have to say about this review. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. And if you guys are wondering, I haven't had the time to do other manga, I will see if I can get to them. I haven't dropped them, but it's tough with school. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.